you know, growing up, I loved having a little sibling, a little sister. And I used to tell her imaginary stories at bedtime, and she would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And sometimes she would laugh so much she would wet herself, or she would let out a little fart. And I just thought it was so delightful. Like, she was just such a like giggly, sunny, happy little thing.
It's been 16 months now since Kate's sister Alice took her own life. Just 20 at the time, she'd been suffering with poor mental health for several years. Caused in part, her family say, by her struggle to get an NHS appointment for gender-affirming healthcare.
I think she lost hope, and every time she did try and do something to forward her journey, it just seemed like there were all these huge obstacles ahead of her. I don't think she ever really turned to any organisation that actually helped her. It was always, it was a battle. Everything was a battle.
It's a torture to be left on the wait list, to be left hanging for so long with no end in sight and no power, no control over your own destiny.
At the time of Alice's death, she had already been on the waiting list for her first appointment for almost 3 of a suspected 5-year wait. It was this, they say, that left her feeling hopeless and like society didn't care about trans people like her.
We're part of that society, so all the people who are kind of, and I would probably put myself in this before Alice, who are sort of vaguely supportive but not really very engaged. That we're part of the society that is putting them down, killing them. Because that's what happens when you deny people basic health care, when you talk about them in such disgusting ways.
The family say their grief since Alice died has been exacerbated by the sometimes toxic debate around trans people and their rights.
I've shared pictures of Alice that people dissect to say, well, that's not a woman, look at that jawbone, like look at that brow. And I think, she's dead. Like, she was a real person who lived. And, you know, now this face that you're dissecting doesn't exist anymore because we had to cremate her. And then you just come onto the internet and spew hatred at me about my sister who I loved and who died.
Today, the inquest into the death of Alice Litman opens in Brighton. It will examine the delays Alice faced in accessing healthcare as a trans person, as well as considering decisions made in relation to her mental health and GP care. Her family hope that all these things will be acknowledged, so other trans people like Alice will get the support they desperately need.
And we know that we're not going to change the world overnight, but if we can humanise the debate, because most people are actually pretty decent really, if you can engage with them in the right way and stop arguing about sport and toilets and think about caring for people.
The Tavistock and Portman NHS Foundation Trust said they are deeply saddened to learn of the death of a patient who is waiting to be seen at the Gender Identity Clinic, but it's not appropriate to comment while the inquest is ongoing. Alice's inquest is scheduled to last for 3 days. After that, the family hope they can remember her beyond her untimely death and begin to look forwards, however painful that might be.
It's all right. I just thought Alice was going to be in my life for the rest of my life. And that's something that I find really hard, imagining getting older and having a lot of life ahead of me without her. Because I just thought she would always be there.